think I want to start with you, Mr. Haggerty. You've proposed something different, but I'm a little concerned that, you know, part of our challenge is getting this legislation through the Congress when not all our colleagues understand rural communities or the significant dedication that it takes, you know, from transportation, emergency management, fire suppression, roads, schools, all of those things. They don't understand the interrelatedness of having federal forest lands and those infrastructure needs that are necessary to keep them maintained. So I wanted, how do you think your proposal would be scrutinized in terms of payments being shifted around as opposed to being directly linked to federal obligation? And then Mr. Pierce or Yates or anybody else who wants to comment on that.
Senator Cantwell, thanks for the question. I think one of the things that we are trying to accomplish with some alternative proposals is to make it clear that you know, the communities have to be first in this. The rural communities are struggling across the country, and we recognize their plight. It's also true that we need some real solutions for our forests. We've heard a lot today about the need for restoration from the chief. We certainly have fire issues in the forests. But what we're trying to do is find a way to separate out the revenue requirement in paying counties as compensation for non-taxable federal lands and the work that we need to do in supporting rural communities with jobs and treating our forest health issues. And the reason that we're concerned about returning to a revenue sharing program is that a revenue sharing program is volatile. It's always been volatile in the past, and we expect that it will be volatile in the future. Counties need money every year. They need to have some certainty that they can take care of services, fund good schools, and maintain roads. So the other part of right now is we need a way to fund the current programs, and the current programs have existing problems. The biggest problem that we've identified is that most of the Secure Rural Schools and PILT funding, as appropriations decline, are starting to be directed more to urban counties than to rural counties. And it's a problem. This is a rural program, and rural counties need these payments the most. So what we're trying to do is not necessarily make a statement about any one way forward, but we want to offer a proposal to the table that tries to meet some goals. One, provide predictability and fairness to counties. Two, we want to direct payments to rural communities where they can do the most good. And third, we want to make sure that we can reduce spending in the federal treasury over time. So that's the nature, or that's the kind of goals behind our proposal. The specific components within it, I think, can be discussed. So,
thank you. Mr. Pierce or Dr. O'Loughlin or Mr. Yates, any comments on that?
The conversation with the other parts of the country about rural communities, if I heard the question right. About
whether Mr. Haggerty's proposal is somewhat not having it, he's saying have it generally related as opposed to a specific formula. And obviously our challenge is a lot of our colleagues don't understand this to begin with, and they think that we're talking about something here that's some giveaway to rural communities, when in fact it is part of what is required for management of our national forest. And if you're going to have that much land tied up, you have to access it. Well, how are you going to access it if you don't have roads? How are you going to have communities that are going to be the support system for those national forests if they can't have emergency services or schools or what have you? So the notion that you're going to lock up all these acres and somehow draw a line around it and say, oh, you're only going to go in every so often. I think the first panel did a really good job in my two colleagues here from the chairman ranking member of talking about what happens to the forests if they don't have access. And so all of this is about, this is the support system that goes with our national forests.
Absolutely. And to comment on that, I spoke earlier about just two searches, just two, that were nearly $750,000 when you combine them. And we, within my county, my home county, we have to run an ambulance service in the middle of the forest because of the amount of traffic that travels through that portion of the forest, and it's a separate ambulance service, and they cost $90,000 to $100,000 per year to manage that ambulance service. So you're absolutely right. One of the issues for us is that PILT, for better or worse, as a payment for, in lieu of taxes is a great plan if you have a lot of acreage. But as you know, on the west side of the mountains, you have big forests that grow very fast that aren't necessarily large acreages. For instance, in my county, if I were to trade SRS for PILT, I would get less than $1 million in PILT funding compared to an SRS payment, even at this last year, of over $4 million when you bring the schools and so on into it. So we do perform services that are much bigger than an 11,000 quote-unquote person county would normally perform.
Well, thank you for that, and I'm going to turn it back to the chairman, but I'll just point out, I meet so many people who will say, oh yes, I went, they don't always know the exact name, but they went to the Skamania Lodge, which is a national conference area. I meet so many people here from DC, and they say, oh, I went to your state, we went to, you know, this lodge. I'm not sure the Skamania Lodge would be there if you didn't. It has to have support. It has to have access to roads. It has to have a community, and all those things are part of this resource.